So you're finished with your academic training. Congratulations. Do you know what the next step is? Are you looking for direction in ministry?
Basically, I was finishing college and I was just looking for somewhere to serve. I didn't really care where, but just wanted to go somewhere and do something for the Lord, and found out about this program and talked to Pastor Boffman, and he and I just really seemed to hit it off really well. The Lord kind of put our hearts together, and same with the other staff. And then I came down here for a visit one Sunday and saw the services and heard Pastor Boffman preach, and the Lord just gave me peace and direction and said, this is where you need to go, and I'm grateful that I did.
I was beginning to question my calling into ministry. It seemed like everything that I was involved in was filled with difficulty and trouble, and I began to wonder if this is really what God wanted me to do with my life.
We were frustrated with where we were. We were trying to get started on deputation. We were trying to get things rolling, and we just kind of felt stuck. And so it was at that point that I realized something needed to change, something needed to be shook up or enhanced or improved.
No one is completely ready to handle the responsibility of full-time ministry without growth into the person of Christ.
Many guys forfeit the internship part, the residency part, thinking that the seminary training is adequate. I would have made so many mistakes in ministry. I would have made so many more mistakes in ministry if I had not done the residency here.
Each of these men had already trained for ministry. Some were already married. Some were headed into foreign missions, others into church planting. Others just knew they were called into pastoral ministry. None of them knew exactly what the next step was. Then they found the Ministry Apprenticeship Program. The goal of MAP Ministry is to prepare qualified candidates to fulfill their personal calling in the local church.
MAP Ministry is patterned after a medical residency. A medical student will receive their education. They will have then oversight by experienced medicine practitioners before they then go into their own practice. And that really is what we're trying to do. Men who have received theological education, then they will receive oversight while in ministry with experienced practitioners, and then they will be prepared to become practitioners in their own right.
Every sermon you write, every book that you read, every meeting you have with ministry peers, every week that you serve at Stanley Heights is another chance to learn and to grow.
You read a stack of books while you're here, you do ministry papers while you're here on positions, you even write policy documents while you're here.
One of the best things was just the discipline of preparing multiple sermons every week. And one of the best things to help me with that were there were different men in the church that were available to me, and they critiqued my sermons every week, which was a little bit intimidating, but they were able to help me and give me pointers and sharpen me as a preacher.
Well, when I was in college, I had the opportunity to be involved in many ministries, but there is a huge difference between just being part of a ministry where everything sort of rises or falls on the other guy, instead of you yourself taking leadership in a ministry and making it actually happen and work with the Lord's blessing.
I personally struggled a lot with organization and discipline in those kinds of areas, and I didn't even realize it until I came here, and then I had opportunities to see how things are done here, and then I was challenged to stretch and to improve.
We don't look at this as this is a guy that we want to come and do the things that nobody else wants to do. We don't look at this as we want this guy to run our ministry for us and our people don't do it. We look at this as this man is coming to be a partner with us, and in the time that he is here, we are sharing with him our burden and the responsibilities and letting him grow in this with our people. Personal growth, that's what it's about. We want that man to grow as a man, as a believer, as a servant of the Lord, to grow in every dimension of his life, and we as a congregation are committed to men for their growth.
One thing I did learn from Pastor Boffman was having that kind of attitude, because he's not perfect. and he doesn't pretend to be. And he actively works to learn to grow. Growth, growth, growth. That's something that gets drilled into your head when you're here, is growth, growth, growth. You have to grow. You're growing as a person, because if you're not growing, you're dead. And just that kind of attitude of I'm not perfect. I'm not this all-encompassing pastor or missionary or minister. I have weaknesses, but that's not an excuse either. I have to be humble enough to admit them and then learn to overcome them.
MAP ministry really gave me an opportunity and forced me as well to come out of my shell as a person. I'm naturally a very reserved person, but very quickly when I got here, I learned that you can't just be in a bubble and expect to be in the ministry. You have to be out and somewhat outgoing, even when that's not comfortable.
This is going to be intensive, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be difficult, but so is ministry. And that's why this is such a key preparation for ministry.
A man must first be tested before he can be trusted. Who you are affects your ministry more than what you do. If what you do is not backed up by who you are, then your ministry will suffer.
Ministry is not a technique, it's not a method, but ministry is people. And if we're going to be in ministry, we're going to have a heart for people.
If you're a man who is passionate for the Lord, if you're a man who is serious about your growth, if you're a man who is willing to be invested in and willing to be taught, if you're a man who is willing to put the kind of work into your life so that you can be fruitful for a lifetime of ministry, then you're the kind of man that we want to invest in.